Welcome back, everybody, to another video on Absolution Media. I'm Ryan, and today we'll be counting down the top 10 Metallica songs. Now, Metallica is a very popular thrash metal band, and they're one of the bands that really got me into rock music in general. They're a band that I was introduced to, I think, in late grade 7, and I just became obsessed with them. I began knowing every song, listening to every song, listening to them on repeat, playing them while I was showering, playing them in the car. I was obsessed with Metallica, and to this day I still love the band. There are bands that have surpassed them in my overall favorite rankings. However, that being said, they're still a great band that's influenced my life a lot, and they're one that I have a lot of nostalgia for and love for. Today I'll be counting down my personal top 10 Metallica songs. Like a lot of these lists, these aren't the top 10 that are the most common top 10s or necessarily the top 10 objective best. These are just my top 10 based on the ones that I find the best and the ones that I find to be some of my personal favorites. It's kind of a combination of both. So this is my list, so keep that in mind. Let me know what your lists are below, but this might not be the average list for some people. But let's get started at number 10. Now, I think this might be a little alarming for some people because this is often the number one on these lists. And there was a point in time in my life where this was my number one song. However, as time has went on, I feel there are songs that I have developed more of a liking to, or this one maybe is just wore out a little bit, considering how many times I played it back in the day. This song's still fantastic, though. There's a lot to love about it, including one of the best riffs of all time, definitely one of the most iconic and influential heavy metal riffs, as well as some great solos. My favorite part of this song is actually the bridge solo. I really do love it. I play it on repeat all the time. It's definitely my favorite part of this track. One of my favorite moments on the whole album, actually. I really think it's beautiful. I really think it's really soulful and really unique for a Metallica song. And I think that it's just aged super well, just like the rest of this song. This song is great. The lyrics are great as well, talking about drugs and the effects they have and going into the mind of a drug addict. And he's referring to the drugs being the master of puppets that's pulling his strings and controlling them. Definitely a really interesting, very insightful, yet very hardcore track, and I really do love it. One of the best off of one of Metallica's best albums. You ask any Metallica fan what their favorite Metallica instrumental is, and they'll probably say Orion, but for me it's Call of Cthulhu. I think Orion's awesome. I definitely think that's a great track. However, Call of Cthulhu, it was the one that I listened to more growing up, and I think that's the reason I prefer it. I love how ominous it is. I think that the opening of this track is definitely one of the best Metallica openers. I think it's absolutely chilling, and then as it slowly crescendos and goes into the harder rock, it really does rock this track. I love the solos in it. I love everything about it. But this track is known for its awesome build-up, starting from those quiet arpeggios and just building up into the intense metal Call of Cthulhu that we know and love today. Great track. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. Cliff Burton was a god, and it's showcased in For Whom the Bell Tolls. One of my favorite tracks when it comes to bass ever. It begins with an awesome bass line / bass solo, which, as you've seen in that clip, was improvised epically by Cliff Burton in the live shows. And it just goes into one of Metallica's best tracks. I think vocally it's fantastic. I love the chorus. I love the ending sort of chaos solo. I really think that it's a great track, and I think that it's absolutely one of their best tracks off of Ride the Lightning, which I think is the album that has the most iconic tracks. I wouldn't say it's their best album. I personally have And Justice for All is my favorite album by them, but I think that this is a fantastic song, and it's one that's stood the test of time and is completely iconic. You hear it at sports events. You hear it used in a lot of pop culture places, such as movies, TV shows. This song is referenced a lot, and for good reason. It's one of their best songs ever, and For Whom the Bell Tolls absolutely deserves a spot at number 8 on this list. So if you were to ask me what the best Metallica song is, not my favorite, not my number one, but the best Metallica song, I would probably say One. I just think in terms of how iconic it is and just how well put together this track is, I think it's absolutely worthy of that position. I'm not surprised by how many people have this as their number one Metallica song. Lyrically, it's great. I love the anti-war theme. It's one of the best anti-war songs ever, and it has one of the best guitar solos in Metallica history. That solo is seriously fantastic. Kirk Hammett did an amazing job with really all the guitar work in this track, and I just love how it builds up, and the drumming is excellent. Definitely an underrated drum performance by Lars Ulrich. I think this song is absolutely one of their best tracks, and I think that it's worthy of being called one, even though it's not number one on my personal list. It's pretty trendy to hate on the Black Album. I think that it's definitely one of the band's more controversial albums, as it's the one that kind of ushered in the sellout era where we got Load and Reload. However, personally, there is one track off that album that I think everyone should love, and that's The Unforgiven. The Unforgiven, the first one at least, the second one and the third one, not my favorite Metallica songs, but the first one definitely kicked serious ass. This track is fantastic. I love the lyrical content and the theme of it. I love it how it's James singing to his parents. At least that's one of the interpretations of it. And I just love kind of the Western feel the whole thing has. I do love that solo. That solo is definitely one of their best and most underrated solos. I think it's fantastic as well. This track definitely stands out as one of the best on the Black Album, if not the very best. And it's one that can get stuck in your head for days. I also love how this is one of the most frequently played songs on the radio by Metallica to this day. Rock stations that I turn on to, sometimes I hear this track and I'm like, oh yes, what a great song. Definitely worthy of a top 10 spot. One of the most underrated iconic tracks of Metallica, and Justice for All, the title track of, in my opinion, their best album, is fantastic. It's really epic. It's almost 10 minutes long. It's one of their longest tracks, and it really doesn't seem that long because there's so much to enjoy there. Love the opening. It's got a fantastic opening. I just love everything about it. I like the lyrics a lot. I like how heavy it is. This is kind of Metallica in their raw form. Definitely really enjoyed this track. It's one of their best, and it's really epic as well. It's one that a lot of the newer fans aren't as big on, but it's one that a lot of the classic fans agree is one of their all-time classic tracks, and it's one that I wish they played a little more. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really epic, and I think it's a 10 out of 10 song and definitely worthy of being a top 5 track by Metallica, and they have a lot of fantastic songs. Sanitarium, Welcome Home, whatever you want to call it, is one of my most listened to songs ever. I've listened to this song so many times, and this one never gets old. I love that intro, and I love all the solos. The solos in this song are phenomenal. This song features just so many awesome solos that are just really jaw-droppingly great. I love the lyrics of this song. It's got some of the best vocals that Hetfield's ever done. I think it took that good old-fashioned Metallica power ballad that they explored in the Ride the Lightning album with the song Fade to Black, and they kind of perfected that. And we got this song, and this song definitely, it also paved the way, in my opinion, for One. And I think that this track is really good. Lyrically, musically, I think they did a great job with this one. And it's my favorite song off of Master of Puppets. This is personally my number one off that album. I think it's a fantastic track, definitely worthy of a lot of the praise that it gets. This song feels like Metallica covering a Slayer song. It really does kind of feel like Metallica's version of Raining Blood. I just absolutely love this track. This is one that's definitely the best, in my opinion, off of Injustice for All. It just rocks hard. I think it's really good. I think it's one of their best in terms of really every instrument. The drumming is fantastic. I love the guitar riff, the solos. I think that everything about this track is amazing. I love that drum breakdown in the beginning too before going into the main riff. this is a fantastic track, and the lyrics are some of the best as well. I think that James Hetfield does a great job. You can definitely feel the raw emotion in his voice and in his writing. I think overall, Dyer's Eve is one of their best songs ever, and that's why it makes the number 3 spot on my list. One of my favorite metal vocal performances ever is in The Four Horsemen. I think Hetfield does an amazing job with it. I think this is just a really iconic track. And one of the things about this track that's different from the rest is this is not one that I really grew up with. This was actually a Metallica song that I often skipped when I was younger for some reason. But definitely a fan of this one. This one's definitely a top 5 track for me nowadays. I absolutely love it. It's one that's grown on me recently. And it's probably my most listened to Metallica song over the past month or so. I love The Four Horsemen. I think it's absolutely incredible. And it kind of was one of their iconic tracks that kind of set them off, you know, with this and Seek and Destroy being probably the 2 biggest tracks off the original album. I think that this one is better than Seek and Destroy. And I used to not feel that way. Seek and Destroy was definitely always my favorite on Kill 'Em All. But thinking about it, The Four Horsemen definitely stole the show for me. It almost made the number 1 spot on this list. But there's one track that's basically unbeatable for me. And for those of you who know me personally, probably know what that is. But for most of you, you might not. So let's kick it off with number 1. I thought long and hard about this one, but at the end of the day, there's only one right choice. This is Fade to Black. My favorite song of all time back in the day, growing up as a kid, you know, in my early years of high school. This was the song. This was the song that defined Metallica, the one that I viewed as the best. And, you know, for the years following, even coming out of my insane Metallica fandom and moving into being a fan of other bands like the Arctic Monkeys, Pink Floyd, and Muse most recently, I've still found that Fade to Black has stuck with me. And there have been times where I'm like, okay, Dyer's Eve is better, or The Unforgiven's better, or One's their best track, or Unjustice for All. And there's been times where I thought, oh, maybe that's the true number 1. But at the end of the day, no song has had more of an impact on my life than this song right here, Fade to Black. It's been there for me for years. It's been a song that I've just returned to so many times at so many different points in this second half of my life so far. And it's just, it's an incredible track. It's beautiful. I love the guitar solo. I love the intro. I love everything about it. The vocal performance. I love the drumming. I love the structure of it. There's just, everything goes right. It's a little bit of a basic pick. I know some fans aren't the biggest fans of this, while other fans view it as their best song ever. I definitely am in that boat. I think this is Metallica's best song, and it's my favorite song by Metallica. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. Let me know what your top Metallica songs are, and I'll see you guys all later. I'm Ryan from Absolution Media. Bye.